Hi, welcome to another episode of Geekified, possibly the biggest film release of the year. Hopefully you've all seen it before you even try and talk about it, because things are about to get very spoiler heavy very, very quickly in this review. So if you haven't watched Spider-Man, then please go and watch it and then come back to us, because we're discussing Spider-Man No Way Home. Oh, what a movie! What a culmination, and as far as we're aware, the start of the Spider-Verse. You could not have asked for a bigger movie than that. We're here to discuss it, and we're here to talk about what everybody thought, and we're here to just bang our heads together as to everything that's happened. I'm super excited to talk about this film. So, Nathan, how are you?
I'm good, man.
Good. Nick, how are you?
I'm buzzing, big man, buzzing.
Tony, how are you doing, man?
Very excited for this.
Oh, honestly. So we all know it. We've been talking about, I have never ever known a movie to be more hyped than this movie has been. It has been consistent over 6 months. They've done it so well. The marketing team should be proud, because the figures are showing 200 million in opening weekend, I think they said, is the last count.
And that's third biggest weekend of all time.
Yeah, and this is during a pandemic. They managed to do this during a pandemic. So Lord knows what it would have been like if this was up against things like Endgame and stuff like that height. But you can already tell the way that I'm talking about what I thought about the movie. I was absolutely hyped, loved it. But we'll start with someone else, because obviously I'm showing my excitement. Nick, what did you think? To give us a summary of the movie as a whole.
Absolutely loved it, mate. Generally, the first Marvel movie I've left is I've actually been satisfied with. Just feel like everything in it was just put in place perfectly, in my opinion. Obviously, the return of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and stuff like that, the way they done it was brilliant. I think how they got, obviously, Charlie Cox as well. They just literally gave us just enough of him that got us excited for what's going to be in the future. And obviously, bringing back like Alfred Molina, William Dafoe, it just reminds you how great an actors they were, and like how much emotional attachment we actually do have to the sort of Raimi films. So I absolutely loved it as a Spider-Man fan.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, especially with the name dropping of some of the villains there, because I'm going to get right into discussing everything that happened with them. Nathan, what do you think?
Okay, I loved 95% of it.
I was expecting the P word.
No, not at all. Not at all.
You know, it's amazing.
Did you lie to us, you absolute swine?
I know. See, 95% of it I thought was really good. I thought the way they did the multiverse thing was really good, actually. And I think about the multiverse. I thought the way they brought in the two other Spider-Men was really good as well. I love the fact that we now know that the Venom films are in a slightly different universe. We know that now, which is quite cool as well. And they've obviously left a teaser that a version of Venom can come into this universe now.
Yeah,
which is quite cool as well. The only thing I had a problem with is the way that it was set up. The multiverse thing, I thought was a very weak bit of storytelling. You know, he goes and asks him to do a spell, and they do a stupid little muck around, and it messed everything up. I didn't like that. I thought that was a bit weak. I thought there could have been a much sort of bigger thing to happen. I don't know exactly what it would be, but I thought it was a bit weak, that bit of storytelling. But the rest of it, I thought they did a fantastic job on.
Yeah.
Well, I particularly like the bit at the end when Spider-Man goes about rogue and smashes Defoe's face in. I thought that was very, very powerful.
Yeah, I think we'll talk a little bit more about the kind of how it came to, because I think that is a really interesting topic to discuss. But Tony, what's your summary? What do you think, man?
Yeah, I actually agree with Nathan. That's the only little bit that the whole reason why he wanted to do the spells, because they just wanted to get into university. I was like, oh, come on, the stakes should be higher than that. Spider-Man should be doing that because he wants to protect his loved ones. Mm-hmm. But then that was the only thing. But I just thought it was just incredible from start to finish. It even gave Andrew Garfield's and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man kind of endings as well. You know, like as a fan, like they were two great representations of Spider-Man and the films that they did. And they were great actors, but they were let down by the studios not getting, one, a really third bad one, and I think Andrew Garfield should have got another Spider-Man film. But I'm so glad that those as actors got kind of like a lovely, beautiful send-off.
Yeah.
And saying thank you, which, our Spider-Man, well, the current one kind of said, he was saying thank you, but he was also saying thank you for what you've done in the past, Spider-Man Alive. But I thought it was just great.
I'm kind of hoping this isn't as much as it was great closure. I'm kind of hoping it's not the last time we see these guys. Like I do, it's great. It's a great finale because it is really good the way they closed it off. But I'm thinking like in another 10 years when it's Holland and maybe he's passing on to like Miles Morales or something like that. If he stays for another 10 years, obviously he might with the Avengers, and then given that he's got another trilogy coming, he's going to probably be closer to 30, and we could actually see an older Peter Parker actually handing the rails off to Miles Morales. And I think it would be good to have like another reference with Tobey Maguire, like who's probably going to be hitting 50 by then. I think that would be a really interesting dynamic to see one of the Spider-Men and something happen when he comes back through. I do and I don't, because it was such a good closure, and I think it was absolutely amazing the way it ended. But back to the cast, I think we need to talk about the cast that were in this. Again, we had William Dafoe. I keep calling him Willem Dafoe. Absolutely stunning performance. The way that he managed to handle doing that again, he shows that he is possibly one of the best superhero actors and villains that we have seen in for a long time. And the guy is so complex.
I read as well, he insisted on he only signed up to do it if he could do all his own stunts at like 56 or something, however old he is now. He said he only do it if he could do his own stunts, so that was pretty cool.
It was one of the, honestly, what he took us through, I think, was absolutely epic, of just like going right back to what have I done? Kind of, and then all the way to so right back. I felt it just tugged on my teenage heartstrings the first time I seen this. Like it was absolutely epic. But there was a slight weakness in a couple of the characters who clearly weren't that involved, and that's obviously Sandman and Lizard. What did you think about those two guys?
I mean, like we kind of talked about this, like the problem with the third Spider-Man way back was it was far too full, and I kind of did. I think we discussed this in the predictions video. It was like you do need an amazing director to have a story arc for all these characters to fit in, and Marvel have done it right in the big Avenger movies. But when it comes to a very heavy, when you've got big players like that, the cast was unbelievable. It does take an incredible director and editor and story writer to be able to do that. But yeah, they were very weak, but they kind of did play their parts. But in saying that, out of those, I didn't go way back to when I was a teenager watching them. Those Spider-Man villains to me were the weakest anyway.
Yeah, that.
There. And great kudos for those actors saying, you know what, I would love to come back and help you out and do a little cameo.
Yeah.
Regardless. So,
I think there was
played their part. So
a lot of money flung about this film, obviously, to get these people back in. I was a bit disappointed we didn't get anything from Kirsten Dunst. I really thought we'd have seen something from her.
I think you're getting to the point then when you're going to have to bring in Emma Stone as well, and you're going to overload it because they but everyone else was dead as well. He's brought them all back, didn't they?
Yeah, true.
So you can bring anybody back. So I mean, I think you get to a point where what was this film? Just over 2 hours, 2 hours and 10,
2.5 hours,
something like that. 2.5?
Yeah.
I was quite surprised. I thought it didn't feel as long as that, which is always a good sign. But I think that if you start to bring them in, you got to extend it, and then it just gives a bit too much, I think.
Yeah.
I did really like the bit at the end when Tobey Maguire said to Andrew Garfield, you're amazing. And obviously his title of his movie was obviously The Amazing Spider-Man. I really like that.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I honestly, this film tugged on my heartstrings so much through all of it. I mean, I'm happy to admit I cried twice in the cinema. There was obviously Aunt May going, which was possibly one of the best send-offs, like the best acting treatment. Marisa Tomei is
that scene was incredible.
She's an incredible actress. She always has been. Everything she's done has been absolutely amazing, from all the way back to bloody like My Cousin Vinny something like whatever else she was in. I'm blanking now, but everything she's ever been in, she's been absolutely incredible. But that death scene, oh my god! I think it was just because she's been hurt. Oh, she's okay. Oh no, wait, she's not okay. Oh no, wait, she's going to die. Oh no, she might actually be fine. Oh no, she's going to die. But and then her line with great power comes great responsibility as well. Oh,
yeah,
absolutely
that death hit me more than Tony Stark dying.
No, I was fucking.
Yeah,
the worst one of all of them was when Spider-Man gets snapped in Infinity War. That's the worst one.
Oh yeah, that wasn't one. Yeah.
That even got me, that one. See, you know, I'm a hard-nosed bastard, you know.
And then the other one
that death scene, but with that death scene, it kind of showed that regardless, I remember how Loki and that whole Loki TV series, that things are inevitable. Whatever you do, it is your timeline, it is your storyline. So for Spider-Man to become actual Spider-Man, he has to lose someone really close to him.
But he lost everyone, didn't he?
Yeah, he has to lose someone. Yeah. He has to lose Aunt May, or like one of his family members. And that was one of the best things. Yeah, it was like, oh my god, that is your fate. Regardless what you do, as much as you can try, Spider-Man, someone's got to go. It's either got to be your girlfriend, your aunt, or your uncle.
Yeah,
it's got to die for you to become the power, the superhero that you are, because you're still a kid until now. Spider-Man,
Yeah, and I think that the other one that really, really got me, and just as much as Aunt May, was when Andrew Garfield Spider-Man managed to save MJ. Oh my god! See when he did it, and then it cut to Andrew Garfield, and he was like crying because he finally managed to save somebody. I was like, I was just sitting in the cinema, just going.
Bit cheesy, that bit.
No, that was amazing. He got to do what he never managed to save his MJ, and he managed to save an MJ. And it was the way he seen it, and he came running, and he just jumped out and managed fucking bawling at that part. I'm just sitting in the cinema just going, popcorn, it was popcorn.
I felt, because obviously, like, Andrew Garfield's recently lost his mum. And round about like sort of the same timing and stuff like that. So like when you have, like, me as an actor, like when you see Andrew Garfield do that, he is acting, but he's using he's using things in his real life that's happening at the same time. And the same with Tom Holland in that death scene. He was that death scene, he knew. He was like, look, I started this Spider-Man with you. You were the first actress I did a scene with, like all those years ago. And they were also saying goodbye to each other. Yeah. So it was just so good. So good.
Yeah. It was just, I think it really just hit so many levels. I think the way that it managed to intertwine all the different stories of the Spider-Man, and it also managed to just, like you said, Tony, it manages to show a lot about the multiverse as well. So this brings us to the whole reason of why it started. Like, obviously, the reason it started became like a spell from Doctor Strange. But at the end, we obviously see that something was happening which was mirrored everything that was happening with Loki. So do you actually think that it actually was his spell, or do you think this is all a culmination of everything that happened with Loki and Kang?
I think it's a spell. I think a spell went wrong. He thought he contained it and he hadn't.
See, I'm not 100%. This is why I'm genuinely don't know. I've actually not found very much online. I've got
to admit, I don't normally get that excited about Marvel stuff, but at the end sequence, when you see that possibly one of the bad guys in the new Doctor Strange is going to be a variant of Doctor Strange himself, I was like, that's pretty fucking cool.
It's for the what if stuff. But see, we were talking about the whole Spider-Man thing. The main sort of storylines that kind of comes from, there's one called One More Day, where he's obviously, Peter Parker wants to, he's got an existential crisis and he wants to obviously get all the greatest minds that he knows, like in the Marvel Universe, to actually do it. So Doctor Strange obviously then manages to get him to actually read Richards and all that sort of thing comes in. There's one with Happy Birthday as well, which is a comic books line where he actually goes to Mephisto and they sort of rejig it. Everybody knows that he's Spider-Man. So it's like they've rehashed a couple of different sort of storylines in his. Mephisto's main thing was he had to give up the love of somebody for him to be able to do it. So he gave up the love of Mary Jane. which is obviously, parallels to obviously them forgetting where that he's Spider-Man sort of thing. So, the fact that they've managed to melt they two, and then also wee bits of Civil War, where also he gets unmasked with the superhero clothes to try and show his positives and stuff.
Yeah.
The fact they've mashed all that into that storyline and actually made it, it's done quite well. I know Nathan's saying it's quite cheesy how they done it, but I think it's actually how they melded it all together from 3 separate comic books and done it that way. I think it was really good the way they done it.
No, it was very impressive. I mean, the storytelling of this film, I think, is one of the biggest factors of why I think it's done so well, and people are coming out so impressed. Because I don't know, like I went with Mark, the other person from the show, another Geekified host, and I said that I'm really going to have to question my top 3 films on this one, because this has really moved stuff about, and I'm not quite over it. I'm going to go back and see it again, but I think the top 3 have really shifted for me. This possibly might be a number 1. As much as I enjoyed Endgame, this was the culmination of one movie that managed to do all that. And like it says, like you said, Nathan, it didn't feel like 2.5 hours. It felt like 5 minutes. I was in that film and I was like, done. I was like, what? That was amazing.
Like I said, the only problem I had was that one bit. I just thought it's a bit. I started. That was what, about 20 minutes in, 25 minutes in, wasn't it? And I just thought, oh fuck, this is going to be this. Well, I was trying not to swear. I was trying not to swear. I failed miserably already.
So I can stand.
I was just like, my God, that's this is going to be terrible now. And it got good again afterwards. I just thought that the way it's just like I said before, Marvel obsession with trying to put humor into a lot of things. And I think that although there was obviously humor in parts of this, which worked really well, I think that even Doctor Strange says, "Why didn't you just phone her?"
Yeah, I think one of the big things, I think, like, Spider-Man is one of the funniest characters. He is the fun one when it comes from the comics as well. He's kind of cheeky. He's kind of an upstart. It's like, so I always expect, if I go to see a Spider-Man film, I always expect a lot more humor than I would from any other Marvel movie, apart from Deadpool. Obviously, like, Deadpool comics are just hilarious and brutal.
But I just think that it could have been. I was expecting it to be a bit more complex or a bit more, some sort of world-altering event that caused them to do this, not just him trying to get into university.
Yeah, I think it is. So I'm not 100%. I think this is going to. I think later on when we see more references to Kang and Loki, the story of Loki, I think this is going to be, because there's no way that it was just Spider-Man and Doctor Strange that broke the entire multiverse, because we literally watched Loki with Kang creating those strands. So I think a lot later on, all of these films are going to tie in, because everyone's going to seem to believe that they caused something and did something, and I don't think it's going to be the case.
I think some scenes have been cut out from this film, and they might be saving them. I think it might be a case where they've filmed this Spider-Man film and they've been filming Doctor Strange, of Madness, and they're like, okay, should we have these scenes in the Spider-Man film?
Yeah,
to what's happening, or should we do it at the start? Because there's 2 things that I noticed, that when the villains and Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield went back, they went back exactly how when the TVA pruned people.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
Okay, so they were using that. So what happened in this film was an anomaly. Those people shouldn't have been there. So the TVA would have normally turned up and pruned all those people to send them back. Okay. However, what's happened in the Loki TV series is the TVA can't come and help and prune them all. That's why we're getting all these strands.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was Doctor Strange's spell.
No, I really don't.
But this is why I was hoping that the only person who can explain this is Loki to Doctor Strange. I think we'll get that in the next film.
Because I think that one of the big things to remember is, like, what do we say? This is, we're about 3 or 4 years behind everything that's happening in the offices of Marvel. So I think, like, if you think about, like, they were doing all these things 4 years ago, I think obviously setting how well and how popular all the multiverse things are happening, I think that was 4 years ago when they were seeing these things, and only just now they're starting to think, well, this is working, that's working, people are enjoying this, people are talking about that. I think it's like we're not going to see everything that we've been thinking of a while ago until it kicks off now.
I also noticed that they brought in another new government department again in this one, the Department of Damage Control.
So this is the Damage Control is a comic. The Damage Control is as well. It was a failed TV show. I think it was Vanessa Hudgens was in. I think.
All right.
It was set up by Tony Stark. Vulture mentions his Damage Control because it was he was part of Damage Control as well.
Yeah, they do turn up. They actually have turned up in a few Marvel films. Actually.
Yeah,
so they were in one quick scene in Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, there's you know the one shots that were famous for every Marvel movie had a one shot that was after it, like Return of the King, Item 34. The first ever one shot, I'm sure, was the one after Avengers, which was Item 34, which was Damage Control who go and find after the Battle of New York and find a bit of the alien ship or something like that. I can't remember now, it was that long ago. But yeah, Damage Control's been about for ages, but it's a failed TV show. So I don't know if you've ever known this. It was a one episode, didn't do very well. It was supposed to be a comedy. Where Damage Control constantly go after and try and repair all the damage that Spider-Man and Iron Man and all the Avengers do as they wreck a place, and then these guys are left to go in and tidy up and pick up all the pieces and stuff. So it's a shame it failed because I think it was quite a good idea and a good story. It would be a better film.
Well, the main actor guy is the guy that's in Succession, isn't it? The beard.
What was that? I remember.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay. I can't actually remember his face, but I'll have a wee look at that.
Yeah, I thought the other thing I like when obviously the Daredevil bit, and they say to him, "How did you do that?" He said, "I'm a really good lawyer." I really like that line as well.
I think it was so good. It was absolutely that was a great scene, and obviously it shows that the leakers were correct. So obviously there was a leaked shot of Matt Murdock at the table. There was a leaked shot of Willem Dafoe. There was a leaked shot of on the scaffolding at the Statue of Liberty with the big shield and all that. So these were the things that managed to leak. And then this is one of the things I actually want to discuss with you guys. So there's somebody came on to YouTube, I don't know if anyone's seen it, and debunked the video to say that it was made up. I'd love to know who made it. So basically the leaked shot of Andrew Garfield as he's holding a bit of scaffolding, someone went online and made a video showing that it was them that made it and that it was a fake shot, and he used Andrew Garfield's face from other films to make it. I'd quite like to know, was that actually Kevin Feige that paid for this, just to have this guy try and debunk an actual video, or is this just a guy chasing clout?
I mean, what we have, regardless of these leaks now, what it has shown that this is the first film that I've went in and everything that I've seen on the trailers and the leaks has happened.
Yeah.
And was I disappointed? No, I still loved it.
Yeah.
And look at the box office results. So I don't think Marvel or Sony from going forward should be worrying about leaks or anything or spending.
No, definitely not.
Because I still got excited when Andrew Garfield turned up, Tobey Maguire, and everything that I knew was going to happen. I was still.
Yeah. I think obviously the one that was managed to keep quite secret was Tobey Maguire. I mean, it was still leaked everywhere. Andrew Garfield was pretty much a given, but everyone was still kind of questioning, is Tobey Maguire actually going to turn up in this? There was a lot of questions I've seen. People weren't that confident. Everyone was confident about Garfield. One wee question. Sorry. One question for Nick.
Yeah.
Nick, how many Spider-Man covers do you think you've seen in this film?
Spider-Man covers?
Yeah. I noticed so many shots from famous Spider-Man covers, especially like when he was swinging through the pylons, or what do they call it in America, suspension towers. So when he's about to fight Electro, that's a famous cover. It's a famous variant cover. There was a shot when he was swinging in his new outfit at the end. He swings through in the snow. That's a famous cover. There was and I think this is genuinely one of the best things you could do to some of the geeks. I spent half of that movie seeing all these different shots going, that's amazing. That's amazing. Oh my God, that's amazing. Oh my God, that's amazing.
And we got the one that I wanted, the one where they're all pointing.
Oh no, I know, that was the fun. The famous meme. Oh my God. That was hilarious. I don't think that many people got that in the cinema because I burst out laughing and nobody laughed.
Yeah.
Oh well, there you go. But
I thought at the end it was going to do a melt of all the end scenes of all the Spider-Man. So see, obviously he jumps after the roof, it goes into the more sort of got Andrew Garfield sort of panorama vision sort of thing, and then he also does web swing. I was expecting him to do what Tobey Maguire done in the first Spider-Man and kind of hang off a flagpole. So I was
Yeah.
expecting that at the end, but it didn't do that. So I was kind of like, are they going to do one from every single Spider-Man from the end credit scenes from the first movies? But they didn't do it. So I was like, so a wee bit gutted with that one. But like, how they kind of melted so many wee heads, nods to stuff like when Tobey Maguire's trying to crack his back, and he's going, oh, it's from swinging, I guess. But there's a bit in Spider-Man 2 he loses his powers and he gets his back slammed off of like 2 cars when he falls down off the wall as well. So it's wee nods like that where I'm just like, how can they do that stuff so perfectly? Like,
I love.
There's even that nod to Miles Morales, wasn't there, when Jamie Electro said, I wonder if any day we get to see I would love to see a black Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Got a nod to it as well. And then there's between obviously the most recent episode of Hawkeye and this, there's like, I think when you're talking about, whether was it released or delayed, I think it's, if you look at Spider-Man came out on Wednesday, right? And then they say new Hawkeye came out on Wednesday, and there was things they talked about in the new Hawkeye which were in the Spider-Man films. I think it might have been on purpose. Because Elena Belova talks about going to see the new Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And that obviously, because of the Shield. Obviously, there's the Kingpin reveal, and then you've got the Daredevil in the Spider-Man movie. So I think they might have moved the date to sync them up
perfectly. Yeah, and plus at the end, Spider-Man swings past where Hawkeye was with the tree. So they've matched up now. They're on the same timeline.
It's
even a bit when they're going through the sort of the mirror realm. There's a Christmas bit as well, isn't there, in the mirror realm?
The bit of the trees of Rockefeller Christmas tree, Rockefeller Tower. So one kind of final before we close the episode is the after credit scenes. So one of them is quite obvious. We don't really need to go delve that deep. We could probably do an episode on it, and that is Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange. It was basically an episode for the next Doctor Strange movie. So that's not really what.
I was disappointed with that. It wasn't a clip. I was like, come on.
I know. We don't want trailers at the end of the movies. We can watch trailers anytime. We want an extra wee cheeky wee naughty scene.
But I like that one because it was 2 or 3 of my predictions. So I want them all to count.
You're just here for the fucking Funkos. Oh, I'm swearing as well. I beat myself it. You're just here for the Funkos, mate. But so what I talk about Venom, is this going to be like, because obviously we know for a fact that Tom Holland has been given another trilogy. That's cemented, that's in stone. There's another trilogy on the way, including Tom Holland Spider-Man. And clearly the after credit scene shows a bit of the symbiote being left behind. But the biggest, I don't know, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Because we don't have Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock is back.
The biggest thing I actually was I don't know if it's the same with you guys. One of the trailers before was the Morbius trailer. And Michael Keaton's in the Morbius trailer. Yeah. So does that mean that Morbius is in Tom Holland's universe?
I know.
I'm glad. They talked about Venom as well, so it's just like, and then the way they showed the Morbius, it would make sense that Blade comes into that somehow as well.
But the problem you've got, so if you watch the trailer for Morbius and you see Morbius walk past a poster of Spider-Man, I believe it is Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Was it? So how's Michael Keaton in it then? Because he's in Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
It's a good question because I'm pretty confident the suit that's on the wall. I'll fling a picture up because I'll be able to find it relatively quickly. It's this picture, and it is Michael Morbius walking down a lane, and he walks past a poster, and it's a slagging Spider-Man saying something about
his mother.
Yeah. So is that going to be a mistake? Is that maybe when we didn't know how the universes were going to mix?
So it'll be interesting as well, and it'll be interesting to know which universe Tom Hardy's Venom is from, or whether it's a completely different one altogether.
Well, if that's Eddie Brock going back to his universe, is there going to be an Eddie Brock in this universe? Is it just going to be a Venom symbiote? Did Venom not? Because Venom does say in the after credits trailer when he gets zapped in after Let There Be Carnage, he does say that he's an 80 million year old symbiote with a hive mind across universes. So he can obviously jump across universes. So that bit of that symbiote remembers stuff, that knows stuff. So it's going to know stuff across the multiverse. Because Venom does state to Eddie that I says I know his face. He says in the trailer when he sees Tom Holland, he knows his face. So how did he know that? Because obviously these symbiotes travel across. Yeah, their memory goes across all universes. So interesting wee tidbit for you. So I'm quite interested to see where they go on that, because in a way that it's a great kind of idea, great concept, but it's a mess. It's a lot to deal with. There's a lot of these different studios have to tell each other, because we're now going to be analysing everything, like especially that, like what universe each of these characters are coming from. But
the other thing, sorry, I think maybe I missed it when I was watching the movie, right? Because obviously the spell he was going to cast at the start, they weren't going to know that he was Spider-Man, but they wouldn't have forgotten Peter Parker. So why at the end did they forget Peter Parker as well? Did I miss something?
No, it was to forget that he was Peter Parker all the time.
No, at the very start, they were just going to not know that Peter Parker was Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he says that at the end, though. I think he says
the consequences of them doing that spell is that everyone that came through knew Peter Parker was Spider-Man. So that was the main consequence of the villains coming through. Hence why obviously Doc Ock his whole Peter to him. So when they obviously at the end when he does it, they have to. He's like a case of if everyone needs to forget who Peter Parker is, then so be it.
Yeah.
So then when he does his spell again, it makes everyone forget who Peter Parker is, and it means that you can go about being Spider-Man and have no risk.
Maybe I'd missed something because there was so much going on at the end of the movie. But I was like, I didn't really. I felt like I don't get it, because at the start they were just going to make it so they didn't know who Spider-Man was. You know, but then they didn't know him. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but
thanks, Nick. Spider-Man expert down there.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm absolutely loving it, and I think obviously we're going to do a top 10 movies of the year. I think I know what's one for me, but it's a bit of a giveaway if you're going to watch that episode after this. But yeah, oh no, Nathan, it's number 185.
It's 11 or 12.
Not even your top 10.
My 10's locked in.
Yeah, and my 10 isn't locked in. I've just shifted it about. I've watched a couple of movies that it's really changed it. But yeah, that was Spider-Man. I absolutely loved it. I think the team really loved it as well, which is really good. Even Nathan loved it. So it's officially not
P word.
Yeah, that's its official stance. But yeah, please. It's like he's got a cough. YouTube, don't demonetize this, please. But yeah, blown away. Honest to God. We'll talk a little bit more about this, no doubt, when we do our top 10. But thank you very much for joining us again. Thanks, Nathan. Thanks, Tony.
I'm now an official Spider-Man fan. But thank you. Never used to be until this film.
And thanks, Nick.
Cheers.
We can do this all day.